So a human being is different from the mineral, plant, and even animal, and that the human being really expresses what spirituality, what a soul is. In a rock, it's totally physical. A plant, 99% physical, just the power of growth. An animal is much, much less spiritual. You can see that there's a soul that moves the animal, makes it afraid, you can teach an animal. But a human being is something totally different. A human being can be totally spiritual. Totally spiritual, only soul. Human being has values, we'll see. Hamashmud emitit shel ruchnis. What is the true implication of spiritual? He elyonato mikol agbalot umugderet. It is that it is above all limit and definition. שבאמצעותו ניתן להיות למשש ולתפוס את מציאות הרוחניות. That through the soul you can feel spirituality in the world. אף בכוחות שמעל לחמש חושים אשר קולטים דבר גשמי. Something which is above even the five senses which sense the physical world. Sight, smell, hearing, touch. Called the five senses. Ki amnam gam rubni, even though spiritual things, mugdar b'hagdara mesyamet, also are defined in a certain definition, which kovet and mitziuta, which discern their existence. Even though the spiritual things do have their own separate identities, but lemrotzo, even though mitpenei ruchniuto, it's spiritual, as morgeshes lo pshitot, there is a certain simplicity which is malid higher than any potential of yuridat v'klitato and being perceived in any way. Let's just take a simple example. Beauty. What is beauty? Define what is beauty. This is in the philosophy deals with this.
I know it when I see it.
Yeah. What does it mean, right? Know it when I see it. What is it? What was it called in this? Epistemology, it's called.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
the
called.
definition of pornography. They asked, what is it? They said, I know it when I see it.
Right. And also ethics and values, whatever it is. I can't remember the.
But yet there's a bracha. When you see a beautiful person, especially a beautiful person, you're supposed to say a bracha, isn't there?
When you see,
so we know what it is.
We don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. Like you say, a person can recognize. What is honesty? What does it mean, honesty? What does it mean, honesty? What does it mean, bravery? What does it mean, bravery? You can see bravery. You can see there's such a thing in the world as honesty. You can actually see honesty, right? What does exactly it mean? What is beauty? What is love? What is the truth? What are these things? They exist, but we can't see them. The Greeks, the philosophers, the Greeks, Plato, I remember, made a big deal out of this with the forms, and these are the forms. Spirituality in general is, even though it exists, and even though that it has a certain definition, I mean, certainly truth is different than love. Love is different than honesty. Honesty is different than justice. It's a different thing, but you can't really see what it is. You can't really define clearly what it is, only in relation to how it affects the world. Pshitus are the simplicity which is found in spiritual things. Life, taking the best example. Life. What is life? What does it mean, life? It's difficult to understand. It's impossible to understand what it is, life. How can we, if so, experience something spiritual? A spiritual thing does not negate another spiritual thing. Kafi shoro legabi sforot machshavot adinot. For instance, like you can see, intellectual ideas. Ruchniut umuvshatot. Shekachol she'asforot ruchniut yoter. The more that a idea is, what do you want to call it, spiritual or amorphous, call it amorphous. They disturb one another less. This is, you can have a library. People can sit and they can learn ideas of mathematics, ideas of geometry, ideas of psychology. All these ideas in their mind don't disturb necessarily one the other. A person can have all these ideas in his mind and they don't disturb another because they're ideas. It's not like a house is full and you fill the house up and that's it. You can't get any more people in. There's a certain amount. But ideas, there's no end to ideas.
Emotions are ideas, aren't they?
Not really. Emotions are the result, if you want to call it.
Okay.
They're supposed to be.
Okay, if you have conflicting thoughts, ideas, make people crazy.
Maybe you have differences in application of the thoughts, how to apply them. But just to have different thoughts, I don't know. I mean, I didn't... Let's take an example. They have class on comparative religion, comparative government, comparative. So you learn communism, fascism, capitalism, anarchy. You can have all these ideas, right? And when they're in your mind, when they're ideas, they don't contradict one another. When they're ideas, right? They don't contradict one another. As soon as you try to apply them, then they start to contradict. But as they are just ideas, spiritual ideas, they don't contradict one another. Right? They don't really contradict one another. Because this works, that works. You can have all the ideas in your mind, and you can say, well, let's see how this one applies here. Let's see how this one applies. Let's see where they apply. Right? Maybe in certain, like they want to have in Israel they have socialized medicine. So I said, socialized medicine, does it work? Yeah, let's say it works. In America, it doesn't work. Right? It doesn't work. The idea are ideas, very nice ideas. When you try to apply them, right, they become more physical. Then it's a big difference.
What about when you're listening to somebody? I'll give you an example that professor of LSD was telling me about. He's talking to you and everything is good, and then he says something and it disagrees with something that's in your head. And in your head, you're already thinking, arguing, it's creating problems in your head.
Right, okay, a person, it's true, listen, an idea, there can be false ideas, right? The Nazis stood up and they said, we want equality, we want the world to be a wonderful place. In order to do this, we have to kill all minorities, right? So you think, well, this somehow this doesn't work out. I mean, it's an idea.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that.
If you want to discuss,
you're listening to this, you're saying,
right, if you want to discuss this as ideas, then okay, I can understand that idea, right? This guy thinks the Mexicans are inferior. He thinks Jews are in danger of the world. Can you bring some proofs? Can you bring some ideas? But it's still ideas, it's still argument. As soon as it comes into action, then you get the problems.
Okay.
That's when problems.
Well, I was just saying that it can create like a psychosis in a human being, conflicting ideas just within the mind without even getting out of the body. They're not houses filled with people.
But I think this is only in how you apply them. Only in how you apply them, right? Is God watching me? Is He not watching me? Right. So a person can use that idea. God is watching me and get paranoid.
Even a more basic freedom of choice within our mind. Should I do this or should I not?
Okay, but when it comes down to doing, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to doing.
Yeah, but what if you never get to the point of doing it? You're locked in a decision. There's people like that.
But then it's also it's a choice between should I do or should I not do. Yeah. So he's locked in indecision, right?
Yeah, and his body does nothing.
Base, right. So sometimes that's the best thing. Right? The person's trying to decide which is really better. Should I worship this God or that God? Should I worship? Maybe communism, maybe fascism, maybe Bundism, maybe Zionism, maybe this. All these different ideas.
Say right? Nothing and live a long life.
Better not to make a decision, right? Because ruchnius on nimshach hadavar nale mimenu. Two things. Number one, true spirituality. One idea does not interfere with another idea. Number two, spirituality, it draws you to something higher all the time. Kafisha anuroim, like we can see in spiritual shibagashmis, like for instance fire. That fire is the most spiritual aspect of the physical world. Shazem yesora ruchni biyoter ma'arba yesoros. From the four elements of earth, fire, water, and air, is the most spiritual of them is fire. Why? It is spiritual, therefore, that nature is to go up more. Ki maturato amitit, its true desire of a spiritual thing is not to remain what it is, but exactly the opposite, to go out of itself and to be included in something that's higher. And the essence of what is man, of course there are a lot of philosophers and psychiatrists and psychologists, the king of them all was Freud, destroyed generations and generations of human beings, their minds, because he was an enemy of the spiritual. He was an enemy of the spiritual. He said that as soon as a person starts to think, even in the direction that maybe there's God, it's a sign that he's sick. It says it's the neurosis of this. Everything has to be physical by him, physical. And his pupils were not much different than he was. Not much different than he was. Enemies of elevation. Enemies of elevation. Man is the goal of man is to stay where you are. He called it homeostasis, just to be calm, not to have any problems. And says the Rebbe, that's exactly the opposite of what a human being is. A human being's desire is a spiritual entity, and spirit by its nature wants to go up. What does it mean, want to go up? To make the world, to make everything more perfect. To at least improve something in the world. To do something. The way that things are is not the way they should be. They must be better. They must be better. And all these psychiatrists in the spirit of Freud and these people, their whole thing was, you don't have to mess with the world, and the world won't mess with you. Just leave it alone. Let it be. Sick, very sick.
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Right. Very sick. A lot of these messages of the Beatles and these other people, they were very sick, deeply, deeply sick messages. The song Imagine. He has imagine no religion, imagine no property, imagine this. That the man was a sick man. It was a sick, meaningless, miserable people. They were. The people that make these songs up are themselves miserable people. And they have loads of money, right? They have loads of money. They're not going to give their money away to anyone. Okay. This is the meaning. Why humans have a mahut emitit shel nefesh ruchniut. By humans, they have the true expression of a spiritual soul. True that plants are better than rocks because plants have some exhibition of life. Animals are infinitely different than plants because animals really exhibit the soul infinitely more than a plant does. But a human being is the true example of the soul. It's a totally different dimension. A human being can be driven by spiritual things. Key, because Yitrono Shel Adam, the better, the advantage of man over an animal is seichel, intelligence. Lafichas, therefore, yesh lo shtei ma'alot. It has two things that we said before. Number one, seichel, intelligence. Eno mugdar, it is not limited. The eno muchtav, it is not determined. Al yedei hagbala shel teva v'amidos. It's not, intelligence is not limited to your nature or to your emotions. It can be, but that's if you're like an animal. That's the animal part of man. That his emotions and his urges rule over him. Ideally, intelligence can remove itself from any situation that there is and look objectively at any situation, no matter what. Lefichach, therefore, kivan she'adam hu ba'al seichel, since a person has intelligence, einu muchrach lihishe'er, he does not necessarily have to remain ba'oto kav, in that same direction, hu netiya tivis, which is nature brings him. It could be that naturally he has tremendous lust and desire. It could be naturally he has a terrible temper. Right? It could be naturally he's really lazy. He's really slothful. It could be naturally he's a liar. He's a cheater. Right? It has all these natures of different various animals, but he can overcome it. Just like any other creations that are not able to change their nature. A human has this thing, amazing thing, which is called free will, the power of choice. To choose his way. A person can choose his way. That was, I don't know if you ever saw the movie, there was a movie called 1984. It was a book, famous book, with George Orwell, whatever, about one man who decided to defy the government. Big Brother is watching, right? And the end of the movie, they broke him. The end of the movie, he was broken. Right? So it's a very, one of these nihilistic, negative movies. And so there's no hope in life, and there's no meaning in life, and there's no point to life. But the fact of the matter is, it's not so. A human being, no matter where, no matter what, can defy nature. And that's what Judaism is. That's what Abraham was. That's what Abraham gave to us more than anyone else. He defied all of nature. He didn't care about his results. He just was interested only in one thing, doing the truth. But what the truth was, he analyzed it first to be sure that what he was doing was true. And then when he was doing what was true, he didn't let anything stop him. That's a human being. That's a true example of a human being. A human being can remove himself intellectually from any situation. He can analyze the situation, and then he can act properly. This is a very basic principle of humanness. And there's one psychiatrist that I read a lot of his books called Dr. Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl, and this is really the essence of his teachings. This is the essence of his teachings. That a human being always can look at himself objectively, and as such, he can overcome or improve any situation that he's in. Even Jews that were in the Holocaust, even the Jews in the worst places, that they could and that's the history of what the Jewish people are. It was the Rebbe's famous saying that they said, a Jew that does not put on tefillin because of the Holocaust is giving a prize to Hitler. Now a person can say, well, what are you talking about? You know how many religious people got killed in the Holocaust, and because they were Jews. So obviously not a good thing to be a Jew. Let's be sensible over here. So who's the problem? Judaism is the problem. So Rebbe said, I thought Hitler was the problem. I thought Nazis were the bad guys. You're trying to say that God is the problem and the Jews are the bad. That's sort of like what Hitler was saying, isn't it? You know what he's saying. Think about it for a second. But it's very difficult to think when a person sees his parents get killed and he sees the terrible things that happen. So his emotions take him over. You're ashamed to be a Jew, and you have no pride in being a Jew, and you're angry about being a Jew.
Right? I wanted to bring that up early this morning when you were talking about how people who came through the Holocaust, they tapped into a deeper feeling, and yet it seems to me most of the Zionists, most of the people that I've met in life that are Holocaust survivors, or especially children of Holocaust survivors, not very religious.
The Rebbe once had a sikh about it, and he said...
and I recognize them to be damaged people on top of that.
The Rebbe said that he had very harsh words for people like that. He said, if you look at most of these people, he said 99% of them, that when they went into the Holocaust, they weren't that religious. They weren't that religious. Okay, I mean, it's not, you can't blame a person for a thing like that. You can't blame him. Even if a person was totally not religious, you can't blame him. Like, a person have free, like the Rebbe said, we have free will. That's the essence of a human being.
A person with a bad education.
A bad education, whatever, a good education, doesn't make any difference. He decided, he looked around him, he saw the religious people. He says, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to live a life like this. I have to wake up in the morning, I have to put on my boxes, I have to do this, I have to do this and this. Leave me alone. I want to be free. I want to do it. Very good point. Very good point. If a person does not feel the godliness, the purpose, the holiness in the tefillin, if he thinks the only reason to put on tefillin is because either somebody else wants him to, or somebody's trying to scare him, or because he wants to go to heaven, and so he doesn't want his life to be determined by those such superficial external things. He wants his life to be determined by his own choice, by his own values. And if he doesn't see any value in doing Torah and mitzvahs, there's no value just to do because everybody else is doing it. So that, in a way, that person is a brave person. He's willing to, risk going to hell or going to heaven or put the whole thing in the garbage can. Who even thinks of those terms? What do I care what I think? Let's maybe be happy in life. Let me do what I want to do. And I'll follow my urges and we'll see. Maybe it's right, maybe it's not. But I'm not going to do, what's his name say? I did it my way. Famous song. I did it my way. So is that the right way? Says the Rebbe, that's the whole point of it. The whole point is, good, you're right. Use your mind, use your conscience, but use it clearly. Use it clearly, right? Like the Rebbe said, could you have 1,000 good reasons not to put on tefillin? 1,000 good reasons to put on tefillin, really. Okay, but just remember, if one of those reasons is you're not going to put them on because of the Holocaust, is you're giving a prize to Hitler. That's exactly what Hitler would like, right? You didn't forget me, huh? You're afraid, right? The enemy is gone, but you're still hiding under your bed. I wrecked your life. That's what I really wanted, right? Either I wrecked your body, I killed your body, I killed your soul, I killed your memory, I killed your this, but you're always thinking about, Hitler, I'm going to get away from Judaism.
That's a very succinct, elegant response.
Right. Very, very, how do you want to say it? It's painful, but on the other hand, it's true. The essence of a Jew has to be, we have to defy the world, but we have to have the truth behind it. Why should I put on these boxes? Why? But then think about the other way around. Why did Hitler want to kill people who put on boxes? What was so bad about killing boxes that he had to kill?
Well, he started killing people who weren't putting on boxes.
That's another thing. Forget about that.
He killed them all.
But this person say, I'm not putting on boxes because Hitler killed people that put these things on, right? This is a sign of Judaism. So ask yourself a question. Why did this guy kill people that just because they did boxes? How does that show your war? Again, what are you accomplishing, by this? On the other hand, what was he accomplishing? What was Hitler accomplishing? He was making a war against God. And he succeeded. He succeeded to a very great degree. He succeeded to a very great degree. Every Jew that he killed was a successful victory against God. We can't allow him to have any more victories than he had. He's had enough victories. Now we have to be victorious over him. Okay. An animal always is drawn to things that are lower than him. A human being is drawn to what is above him. New values, new principles, new... Ches.
Why don't we, it's 12:30.
Go ahead, okay, we'll stop here.